In this video, I will explain two generalization fallacies, the sweeping generalization and the hasty generalization. Hopefully by the end of the video, you will be able to spot these and deal with them. As we know, a fallacy is a mistake, bad logic, a bad argument. A generalization fallacy is when we mistakenly apply a generalization. The first fallacy we will look at is the sweeping generalization. This happens when we mistakenly apply a general principle to a specific situation without considering other evidence. The general form is as follows. A generally has property B. In general, things of type A have the property B. The key word here is general. Sometimes you might see the word normal instead, but this whole statement is the generalization. If we can agree this is correct, that things of type A generally do have property B, we move on to the next premise. X is of type A. X is a specific thing of type A. If we agree that X is indeed of type A, we can move on to the conclusion. Therefore, X has property B. The specific item X has the property B. We have taken the general principle in the first premise and applied it to the specific item X. Now this logic might seem correct, but the conclusion is where it falls down. Consider the first premise again. It is a generalization. It does not say that all things of type A have property B, so there can exist some objects of type A that do not have property B. Although X is of type A, we do not know for certain whether it has property B or not, and so it is fallacious to claim that it must have property B. Let's look at an example. The example concerns health and weight. We begin with the generalization. In general, overweight people are unhealthy. This seems reasonable. The medical profession and governments have spoken about the issue of obesity and the problems faced by healthcare services. I think we can agree that this general principle is correct. So consider these people, professional sportsmen playing rugby. These men are overweight, maybe even obese if we take the BMI definition for overweight. Therefore, these men are unhealthy. Hopefully with this example, you can see the problem. The conclusion is fallacious, suggesting that these particular men are unhealthy just because they are overweight. The fallacy is called a sweeping generalization because we have taken a general principle, in this case, overweight people are unhealthy, and attempted to apply it too broadly or sweepingly. In this instance, we have failed to consider the fact that these are professional sportsmen, and this is relevant when considering their health. The final point to make here is that it is also wrong to suggest that the general principle is wrong just because it does not apply to this particular situation. The first premise is valid, but as it is a generalization, there will always be a scenario where it does not hold. The second fallacy we will look at is the hasty generalization. This happens when we mistakenly apply a specific situation to a general principle without considering other evidence. Notice how the general principle and specific situation are now reversed when compared to the sweeping generalization. The general form is as follows. Item X has property B. The specific item X has the property B. Here we simply need to satisfy ourselves that X does indeed have property B. Item X is of type A. The specific item X is of type A. Again, if we agree that X is indeed of type A, we move on to the conclusion. Therefore, A has property B. All items of type A have the property B. We have taken a specific situation with X and attempted to generalize with the conclusion by applying it to all items of type A. And that is where it falls down. X could have many properties in addition to B. It could be many types in addition to A. It is a mistake to claim that all items of type A have property B, just because item X does. We do not know where B comes from, let alone that it is necessitated by A. And finally, the general forms for both generalizations explained in this video are themselves generalizations. Why? Because they might appear slightly different. That is, they might take on a slightly different form. Let's look at an example of the hasty generalization. The example concerns milk. This bottle of milk is really good value. This bottle of milk is made by Moo & Sons. Therefore, Moo & Sons makes things that are really good value. Again, we assume the first two premises are valid. The bottle of milk is much cheaper than others, and it is clear that this one is made by Moo & Sons. The first two premises are specific. They refer to a particular milk. The generalization is in the conclusion, which is fallacious. It is a mistake to claim that everything Moo & Sons makes is good value based only on this one bottle of milk. We do not know that the milk is good value because it is made by Moo & Sons, or indeed that everything they make is good value. Hopefully you can see the appeal of this fallacy to shops and marketing companies. I'll quickly put the two fallacies side by side so you can appreciate just how similar they are and remember how they work. So how should you deal with it? If you see someone making this mistake or feel that you are about to, what should you do? Well, I suggest that you consider more evidence. Ask questions. Does X have more properties besides B? Does it belong to more types besides A? If it helps, practice with real-world examples. I hope you now have a better understanding of these two generalization fallacies.